In recent weeks, I've immersed myself in the story of someone who has broken all the records in mountaineering. He has proven that most of our limits are always self-imposed. As a mountaineering aficionado and a high-performance trainer, coach, and mentor, the story of Nimsdai Purja has been an fascinating intellectual journey for me. And today I want to share what are the key high-performance lessons that I have extracted from his story. Let's get to it.
I am the CEO and founder of Selfmastered, which is a high-performance training company. We help entrepreneurs and business leaders scale their businesses by teaching them 8 core high-performance skills that allow them to operate at peak potential when managing their businesses.
Now, before we dive deep into this video, remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss out on any of our juicy videos. And more importantly, do not miss out on the promotions that we run for our subscribers. We're giving away thousands of dollars in productivity and performance courses and programs that will help you more than any other thing in the internet. So today I want to talk about Nimsdai Purja, which is a Nepali-born British mountaineer and who spent a decade in the British Armed Forces. First as a Gurkha, which is a highly specialized unit from Nepali origin that fights in the British Army, and then as a member and operator of the Special Boat Service, which is the special forces of the Royal Navy. After a decade as an elite operator within these two corps, he transformed into a mountaineering and achieved something that everybody thought was utterly impossible. He managed to climb all 14 8,000er. So an 8,000er is one of the highest peaks on Earth, so over 8,000 meters height or more than 26,000 feet in just 6 months and 6 days. The previous record held by a South Korean climber was 7 years and 310 days. So he smashed that record without having a previous mountaineering experience or very shallow. He had not been trained as an alpinist. He had not been trained in the mountains. He was a soldier, a fighter, not a mountaineering. So how could he achieve this? How could he pull it off? By harnessing some of the key principles that we teach our clients in relations to high performance. Learn them, internalize them, and you will see your personal performance soar. Of course, the list is not exhaustive, but it proves what high performance looks like in action. If you want to become a top performer, you just need to emulate this character traits so that they become second nature to you. Number 1, identity and narrative update. Most of us are bounded by the limits we set to ourselves, and those limits are normally mediated by other people. So it comes from the education, from our mentors, from anybody that we have interacted with, that they have produced a set of rules and beliefs that we have acquired and we thought of them as truths. But oftentimes what we believe as truth is just not truth for us. So we are limiting our own potential because we are not properly auditing what we believe is truth. And on top of that, we generate a language based on those faulty beliefs that keeps us caged and doesn't allow us to transform into a better version of ourselves. And in this case, Nimsdai was not a climber, as I was saying. He was a soldier. He could have said that he had no right to become a mountaineer. He hasn't been trained in doing so. And of course, he had no possibility of achieving in 6 months what expert climbers have achieved in 7 years before him. He was new to the party, no track record whatsoever. So when he decided to do this challenge, he had to take on a new identity as someone that was an elite climber. He had to transfer all the skills he had as a soldier, as an operator, into the mountain. And he did so by rethinking most of the commonly held beliefs in the mountaineering community. He crushed record after record because he refused to think like other mountaineers would think. Instead of taking 1 month to climb a mountain, he would attempt to do so in 1 day or 2 days. How? By training his body and his mind, but most importantly, his own narrative. He thought he could, and he prepared himself so that that belief became his reality. And he built a new identity based on this belief. 2. Irrational self-efficacy, which is a term that comes from the psychological literature, most precisely from Albert Bandura's work. Self-efficacy means strong belief in your agentive capabilities, in your ability to figure things out. So Nimsdai not only thought he could, not only did he build a new identity as an elite mountaineer, but he also developed an irrational self-efficacy. At each step of the way, he knew he could, and he developed the psychological mechanism to push himself to the limit. And let me tell you, being able to drive effective behavior in high altitude is the difference between life and death. So a mistake at sea level will not kill you, hopefully, but a mistake at 8,000 meters will certainly kill you. So it's not only about being your best, it's also about believing that each step of the way, each challenge, each obstacle is surmountable because you have the ability to figure that out. So one is the ability to create a new identity and choose the ability to prove that you believe that identity is possible because you are doing things because you think you can. 3, attention to detail or willingness to control. So Nimsdai, of course, believed he could and had the ideal psychological mindset to pull that off, but he didn't leave anything to chance. So everything he did was tracked, planned, and executed with precision. So there was no randomness on the mountain because randomness on a high altitude can kill you. Everything he did was precise and intentional. Every mountain was mapped out carefully. Every fundraising effort was properly tracked. Every social media post to gather publicity for his mission was carefully tracked. Everything under his control was carefully tracked because that's how he knew he would develop even more self-efficacy to fulfill this mission. If this is resonating with you, hit like and subscribe so you do not miss out on any juicy videos. 4, shadowboxing. See, we all have our own demons. We all have our dark side, but the best of the best know how to use those dark emotions to propel themselves forward. They never get caught up in those dark alleys of emotion so that they become unable to operate. There's in his book, Nothing is Impossible, Nimsdai Purja says that at some point he discovered that the oxygen bottles that he had left on Everest had been stolen by someone, and that can be deadly at such an altitude, because if you count on oxygen that doesn't materialize, then you are left to your own conditioning and maybe you haven't planned for that. When he discovered this, that someone has stolen his oxygen, he transmuting that dark energy and rationalize it into thinking that maybe someone had been in need of that oxygen, that someone had taken his oxygen in order to save someone else's life, and therefore he should be grateful and he should be honored that his oxygen could make a difference in someone else's life. This is a psychological artifact that he used to transmute that anger that could lead to a very dark path into something positive. 5, low emotional variance. And this is absolutely key. See, in business and in life, those are able to master their emotions will have the upper hand. And this is especially relevant in high altitude, because again, if you get too emotional and you can make mistakes that at that altitude can lead to disaster. So learning to master your emotions and keep yourself in check is a key distinct quality from top performers. And Nimsdai did this very well because as he was pushing himself, the limit of himself so much in a short amount of time, his mother was also going through a difficult medical condition. And he could not allow, Nimsdai could not allow this situation his mother was in to get him unfocused on the mountain. He had to balance those things out, and he had to remain calm and collected with attempting to climb mountains in just 1 or 2 days, as he did somewhere in Pakistan, Broad Peak, Gasherbrum 1 and Gasherbrum 2. He was able to topple them in just a couple of days, which is impressive. But you can only achieve this if you are able to remain calm, collected, and focus on the things that you really need to do. And finally, leadership by examples. On several occasions, Nimsdai saved someone else's life in high altitude, risking his own. And if you want to become a top performer and you want your team to follow along and really become high performance too, you need to inspire them. And the only way of making sustainable inspiration is by doing so through example. Nimsdai was oftentimes the first to trailblaze the mounting up. Trailblazing is normally in mountaineering, you have fixed ropes that are set at the beginning of its season, and then you just need to follow those ropes until the summit. But oftentimes a storm or some other meteorological condition would get those ropes out of the mountain, and then someone else has to climb that up. And climbing up without a rope is very, very dangerous because you can slip and go down the mountain. So every time that he found there were no ropes ahead, he would not complain and he would make the effort of roping the mountain up, oftentimes up to the summit, so others could follow his footsteps and oftentimes also summit together. This happened in K2, as he recounts in his book, in which he found few climbing parties totally demoralized because the weather had been very rough in the mountain for a few weeks and they were running out of time to attempt the summit, and basically the mood was grim. But he was able to infuse hope in them, and then also by trailblazing the way up, some of these climbers were managed to climb with him. So these are 6 key high performance lessons that I learned from Nimsdai Purja. If you are into mountaineering, if you are into high performance, I strongly recommend you watch his documentary on Netflix and you buy his books, because it will prove you that all of our limits are self-imposed. And if we really want to do something, we have a strong why, and we architect our life and work in order to get to that goal becomes inevitable. I hope this was useful. Please let me know in the comments if you learned anything. If you know of any example of high performance mountaineering or alpinists that we should cover, and of course, see you in the next video.